Hebrews, Hebrews, Hebrews. This is Prophets of Awakening. This is our Shabbat class, the 18th of July, 2026. Okay, my main topic would be the Council of Nicaea revisited. I'll be bouncing off of the Men's Advanced Bible Study last night topic. So I have some more information, and it's some important information, and it's some eye-opening information. So that's the reason I'm dealing with it. Okay. You can go to our YouTube channel, The Prophets of Awakening, check out our videos. We have over 1,000 or so videos that you can look at, examine, get to meet out. These videos that lead you to the truth of the Holy Scriptures. And if you like what you're hearing and receiving, I'm asking you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It'll be greatly appreciated, okay? We have our Cash App at the bottom of the screen. For those that want to support this channel and help it move along, that too will be greatly appreciated, okay? For those that don't know, this is a non-Messianic channel. We deal with the Tanakh and the Torah. Tanakh being the Old Testament, so-called Book of Remembrance. It's from Genesis to Malachi. But we don't deal with the New Testament, with JC, the apostles, Paul, none of that, okay? This channel was created to aid and assist our Hebrews who are waking up to their true identity and also understanding who their Savior and their Redeemer truly is, okay? Shalom and welcome to the channel and welcome to our Shabbat class. We're going to do our normal, which is a moment of silence, prayer, Psalms. We have some current events, some need-to-know information, with some dialogue. We have our topic for discussion, which I mentioned earlier. We'll be revisiting the Council of Nicaea, and I have a couple of videos on that that I'm playing. We'll break it down as we go. Then we'll pick a scripture like we normally do, break that scripture down, and then we'll open the line up for our questioning, for our Q&A, for our questions and comments, any dialogue that anybody may have before we close out. Okay. This moment of silence is for the Lord of hosts and all that he's doing to bring about our prophesied deliverance in these last days. Okay. O Lord, we come before thee at this hour on your day that you have given us for rest on the Shabbat, praising you and honoring you because of your position both in heaven and upon the earth, the position in which Creator Yahweh have given unto thee, and through your spirit and your counsel, O Lord, we have awakened. We have awakened to know who we are as a people and who you are as our Savior and our Redeemer. And we are thankful for all that you have done, and we are eagerly searching your scriptures out that we may be at the right place at the right time upon your arrival to this planet. Lord, I pray unto thee that you continue to let your light shine down upon us in spirit and in truth. And we love you and we seek you daily, O Lord. There is none else besides thee to redeem us. And we see you in the affairs of the world, and we faithfully await your deliverance. Peace be unto you. Okay? Read the psalm right quick. Okay. All right. We read Psalm 37, True State of the Wicked. This is a Psalm of David, Messiah, Israel Messiah. Fret not thyself because of evildoers, neither be thou envious against the workers of iniquity. For they shall soon be cut down like the grass, and wither as the green herb. Trust in the Lord, do good, so shalt thou dwell in the land, and verily thou shalt be fed. Delight thyself also in the Lord, and he shall give thee the desires of thine heart. Commit thy way unto the Lord. Trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. And he shall bring forth thy righteousness as the light, and thy judgment as the noonday. Rest in the Lord, and wait patiently for him. Fret not thyself because of him who prospers in his way, because of the man who bringeth wicked devices to pass. Cease from anger and forsake wrath. Fret not thyself in any wise to do evil, for evildoers shall be cut off. But those that wait upon the Lord, they shall inherit the earth. For yet a little while, and the wicked shall not be. Yea, thou shalt diligently consider his place, and it shall not be. But the meek shall inherit the earth, and shall delight themselves in the abundance of peace. The wicked plotteth against the just, and gnasheth upon him with his teeth. The Lord shall laugh at him, for he seeth that his day is coming. The wicked have drawn out the sword, and have bent their bow to cast down the poor and needy, and to slay such as be of an upright conversation. The sword shall enter into their own heart, and their bows shall be broken. A little that a righteous man have is better than the riches of many wicked. For the arms of the wicked shall be broken, but the Lord upholdeth the righteous. The Lord knoweth the days of the upright, and their inheritance shall be forever. They that they shall not be ashamed in the evil times, and in the days of famine they shall be satisfied. But the wicked shall perish, and the enemies of the Lord shall be as the fat of lambs. They shall consume, into smoke shall they consume away. The wicked borroweth, and payeth not again, but the righteous showeth mercy and giveth. For such as be blessed of him shall inherit the earth, and they that be cursed of him shall be cut off. The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he delighteth in his way. Though he fall, he shall not be utterly cast down, for the Lord upholdeth him with his hand. I have been young, and now I am old, yet I have not seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. He is ever merciful, and lendeth, and his seed is blessed. Depart from evil, and do good, and dwell forevermore. For the Lord loveth judgment, and forsaketh not his saints. They are preserved forever, but the seed of the wicked shall be cut off. The righteous shall inherit the land, and dwell therein forever. The mouth of the righteous speaketh wisdom, and his tongue talketh of judgment. The law of his God is in his heart. None of his steps shall slide. The wicked watcheth the righteous, and seeketh to slay him. The Lord will not leave him in his hands, or condemn him when he is judged. Wait on the Lord, keep his way, and he shall exalt thee to inherit the land. When the wicked are cut off, thou shalt see it. I have seen the wicked in great power, and spreading himself like a green bay tree. Yet he passed away, and lo, he was not. And yea, I sought him, but he could not be found. Mark the perfect man, and behold the upright, for the end of that man is peace. But the transgressors shall be destroyed together. The end of the wicked shall be cut off. But the salvation of the righteous is of the Lord. He is their strength in the time of trouble, and the Lord shall help them and deliver them. He shall deliver them from the wicked and save them because they trust in him. So verse 40 is the one that motivates me because it tells you our Redeemer is and our Deliverer and our Savior. In verse 40 it says, the Lord shall help them and deliver them. He shall deliver them from the wicked and shall save them because they trust in him. Yeah. Not JC, because they trust in him. Okay? Any comments on that? Feedback.
Shalom, brother Leonard. I just wanted to say, sir, that last verse you read, um, kind of remind me of Daniel 12:1, because it lets us know by name, the name we have available that Michael's going to deliver us and our forefathers.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You put a name on it, which is which need to be need. We need a name after all that we've been through and all the lies. Yeah, Daniel 12 do give us a name. Okay, who our true deliverer and our Savior is. Okay. Okay. So with that being said, we're gonna go to our current events.
Week, one continent, 10,000 dead. Thousands died across Europe in a single summer as extreme heat swept across the continent. Now, scientists say this wasn't just a heat wave. Europe's oldest and most vulnerable never stood a chance, and authorities are warning the final number will be higher still. More than 10,000 people died across Europe during the record heat wave that scorched the continent in late June, according to official data. Figures released by Euromomo, a mortality monitoring network backed by the European Centre for Disease Prevention and Control and the World Health Organization, show over 9,000 of those deaths were among people aged 65 and above. The surge was recorded in the week of June 22nd to June 28th, when temperatures peaked across France, Spain, Britain, and neighboring countries. Lasse Vestergaard, chief physician at Denmark's Statens Serum Institute, which hosts Euromomo, said the scale of the deaths was striking for this time of year.
It is difficult to explain this high excess mortality by anything but the extreme heat. To have this kind of excess at this time of year is unusual. It's really high.
Scientists ruled out other likely causes, such as COVID-19, saying the spike could not be explained by anything but the heat itself. In the 8 weeks before the heat wave, mortality across the same countries had actually been running below average. Researchers have linked the extreme temperatures directly to human-caused climate change, warning that such heat waves are becoming more frequent and more intense. Belgium and France logged the highest mortality rates of any European nation during the final week of June, according to Euromomo, which does not break down figures by individual country. Belgium's Public Health Institute, Cienzano, said the country's excess mortality was the worst recorded during any heat wave since 2000. The heat also caused widespread disruption, cutting power supplies, shutting schools and breaking temperature records across France, Spain, and Britain. A separate study published on July 13th sharpened the focus on one country. Researchers from Imperial College London, the Met Office, and the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine estimated 2,700 people died from heat-related causes in England and Wales during the May and June heat waves alone. Nearly half of those deaths, 42%, were attributed directly to the extra heat driven by global warming. Health experts say extreme heat kills largely by triggering heat stroke or worsening existing cardiovascular and respiratory conditions, with older people facing the greatest risk. With Euromomo's data still provisional and subject to revision, health authorities across Europe are bracing for the final toll of the summer's heat to climb higher still.
And that is stopping, looking around, looking for the risks, looking for the danger. So whether that's environmental in the sun, or whether it's how cold is the water, how deep is the water? If you're jumping in, are there rocks? Is it shallow? Are there reeds that you could get caught up in? Is there an undercurrent? All of those sorts of things. And also your strategy for exiting the water. Good morning, Sandbanks Beach. This is an RNLI Beach Lifeguard announcement. A reminder that the safest place to swim is in between our red and yellow flags. And then obviously if you get into difficulty, we have our float to live, which is floating on your back in a starfish, looking up to the sky, ears submerged. And
okay, what you think about that? 10,000 dead within a month's time from the heat.
Shalom, Brother Leonard, that sound like judgment to me. Okay.
Oh yeah, right. And it also exposes the fact that, like I said, you got an invasive species. The Most High creation thrives off the sun.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
he bring everything to light to me. Okay,
Mhm.
just something.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I was talking. I'm always talking about what these people done with what they do with the money, how they put these warnings and things on the money, and then they all of them come to pass. So like I said, if it's on the money, it's gonna come to pass. And so same way with this with Hollywood and with the Simpsons, right? They got, let's check it out. This major to me.
People. Lee from Springfield has been on television since 1989. In that time, they named a future president 16 years before it happened, showed a smartwatch 20 years before anyone owned one, and placed the words, "a division of Walt Disney Company," underneath the 20th Century Fox logo in 1998. A full 21 years before Disney paid $71 billion to make exactly that true. None of these were accidents. None of them were vague. They were specific, documented, on screen, and they all came true. The show has now produced over 800 episodes across 37 seasons. A sequel movie is locked in for September 2027. And the things the writers imagined are still arriving. What is happening right now in 2026 is the part that should make you stop and pay attention. The show and the people behind it. The Simpsons debuted on Fox on December 17, 1989, and has never left. It holds the record as the longest-running scripted primetime television series in American history. Matt Groening created it. The family at its center, Homer, Marge, Bart, Lisa, and baby Maggie, has not aged a single day in 37 years of broadcast. Springfield, the fictional town they live in, functions as a kind of parallel America, where writers take what is actually happening in the real world and push it to its logical, absurd, and sometimes chilling conclusion. The writer's room is not staffed by average people. Showrunner Al Jean graduated cum laude in mathematics from Harvard. Writer J. Stewart Burns graduated magna cum laude in mathematics from Harvard before getting his master's at UC Berkeley. David X. Cohen, who co-developed Futurama alongside Groening, graduated magna cum laude in physics from Harvard, and then earned a master's degree in computer science, also from UC Berkeley. Former writer Brent Forrester, who joined the staff in 1994, described the room plainly. When he arrived, the staff was almost entirely Harvard graduates who were serious students of history. He said people who are obsessed with the past tend to become obsessed with what is coming next. Writer Bill Odenkirk earned a PhD in inorganic chemistry from the University of Chicago. These are not people guessing. These are people who have spent their entire lives understanding how systems work and where they break. The show's executive producer, Matt Selman, has said publicly that the more the writers try to predict or not predict, the more it affects the output. Matt Groening himself has said the show writes jokes based on the most absurd possibility, and that after enough seasons, some of them are going to land. Al Jean put it even more bluntly in an interview. One of the writers said that if you write 700 episodes and you do not predict anything, you are pretty bad at your job. Two Harvard mathematicians, Frederick Mosteller and Percy Diaconis, laid out the math in 1989. With a large enough sample, any outrageous thing is apt to happen. The Simpsons has now produced over 800 episodes. The writers pitch roughly 1,000 jokes per episode to land about 50 in the final script. The volume makes some matches with reality statistically inevitable, but some of them are too specific to explain with volume alone. And the first one that broke that rule has a name, a budget crunch, and a date. The President. They saw coming on March 19th, 2000, an episode called Bart to the Future aired on Fox. In it, Bart is shown a vision of his future by a casino manager. In that future, Lisa Simpson is President of the United States. Her first line to her cabinet is this: "As you know, we have inherited quite a budget crunch from President Trump." Her staff confirms, "The country is broke." The episode was written by Dan Greeny. Trump had been publicly talking about running for president since at least 1988 and had made an actual third-party run with the Reform Party in 1999 and 2000. While the episode was in production, Al Jean told the New York Times that people have somewhat forgotten Trump was talking about running at that time. It was not totally out of the blue. He was a well-known name with clear presidential aspirations, so the writers used him as the punchline for where celebrity culture was heading. On November 8th, 2016, Trump was elected the 45th President of the United States. 4 days later, Bart wrote on the chalkboard in the show's opening credits, "Being right sucks." The show confirmed on social media that the gag was a direct response to Bart to the Future. The writer called the episode a warning to America. The show reacted to that warning coming true with something close to regret. Then, in January 2021, when Kamala Harris was inaugurated as vice president, viewers immediately noticed that the purple coat and pearls she wore closely resembled the outfit Lisa Simpson wore as president in that same 2000 episode. Writer Al Jean acknowledged the comparison publicly, posting side-by-side images of Lisa and Harris. It was not a perfect match, but it was close enough that people who had watched the episode 21 years earlier saw it immediately. Trump ran again in 2024 and won a second term. The episode was set in 2030, with Lisa cleaning up after him. The timeline. The show sketched out in a throwaway joke in the year 2000 is still technically on track, and there are 4 years left before the date it named arrives. That president prediction is the most famous one. But the technology predictions are the ones that reveal something deeper about how these writers actually think. I heard an episode called Them Robot, in which Mr. Burns fires every employee at the Springfield nuclear power plant and replaces them with robots, keeping only Homer as a human scapegoat. In 2025, companies began explicitly citing artificial intelligence when announcing mass layoffs. Amazon cut 14,000 corporate roles and stated that AI enables leaner structures. Microsoft cut approximately 15,000 jobs, and its CEO wrote a memo describing a shift from a software factory to an intelligence engine. Salesforce reduced its customer support workforce from 9,000 employees to 5,000 after implementing AI agents, with CEO Mark Benioff stating publicly that AI now handles up to half of the company's work. In February 2026, the payments company Block announced plans to cut 4,000 employees, roughly 40% of its global workforce, with its CFO explicitly tying the cuts to AI advancements. According to data from Challenger, Gray and Christmas, nearly 55,000 job cuts in 2025 alone were directly attributed to artificial intelligence, out of a total 1.17 million layoffs tracked that year, the highest level since the COVID pandemic in 2020. A 2012 cartoon episode showed one rich man firing an entire workforce and replacing it with machines. That is now a quarterly earnings story reported on financial news sites without anyone blinking. Then there is the merger. In 1998, the episode When You Dish Upon a Star showed Homer pitching a movie idea to 20th Century Fox executives. In the background of the scene, the Fox studio sign reads, 20th Century Fox, a division of Walt Disney Company. In December 2017, Disney announced it was acquiring 21st Century Fox. The deal closed on March 20th, 2019, for a final price of approximately $71 billion. The acquisition included The Simpsons itself, along with X-Men, Deadpool, Fantastic Four, and dozens of other major properties, making the show literally part of the company it had predicted would one day own it, 21 years before it happened.
Okay, what do you think about that?
Shalom, Brother Leonard. Yeah, I didn't know The Simpsons was still on, but it definitely used to seem like it would always foretell something. Like when I used to watch it when I was a kid, and I shouldn't have been watching it, but when I used to watch it, the thing that stuck out to me the most, when Arnold Schwarzenegger, when he had became the governor, they had that on The Simpsons first.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I always thought that was weird.
Right. You think it's a coincidence that all of them out of Yale, and they doing this? Yeah, it's not. And then they got all these crazy Edomite names. I mean, it's a dead giveaway to me.
Right, yes, sir.
And then this next one is about the Matrix. I don't know if you know about it or not, but it says the Matrix is not about they have it like it's set up about humans simulating into something else, like how they mixing AI technology with humans trying to make cyborgs and all this stuff. But this guy is saying that that's not the case. The Matrix movie is about JC. You ever heard that?
Yes, sir. Neo
You
being.
ever heard that before?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, check it out. Okay.
Ten seconds. That's how long it takes before Matrix starts hiding something in plain sight. Not a theory, not a stretch. A deliberate, surgical embedding of one of the oldest stories ever told inside a cyberpunk shell so sleek that most people never looked beneath it. And I get it. When you first hear Matrix is about Jesus Christ, the instinct is to roll your eyes because everything gets compared to Jesus at some point. Every hero's journey, every sacrifice, every resurrection, people throw that parallel around so loosely it's lost all weight. But this is different. This isn't a loose comparison. This is a film where the writers sat down and made a decision, consciously and precisely, to reconstruct the gospel narrative inside a simulation. And the evidence isn't buried. It's sitting right there in the names, the numbers, the geography, the blocking of specific scenes. You just needed someone to slow it down. So let's slow it down. Before Neo is Neo, He is Thomas Anderson. And that name is not an accident. Nothing in this film is an accident. Thomas, in its original form, is the direct translation of the Apostle Thomas, the disciple known for one thing above everything else: doubt. He was the one who refused to believe in the resurrection until he could press his fingers into the wounds himself. He needed to touch the truth before he could accept it. And that's exactly who we meet at the beginning of the film. A man who senses that something is wrong with the world around him, but cannot fully commit to that feeling. A man who, when Morpheus offers him the red pill, hesitates, who asks questions, who needs to feel the edges of the real before he can step into it. The last name goes even deeper. Anderson comes from the Greek andros, meaning son of man, which is not just a poetic phrase. Son of Man is one of the most recurring titles used in the Bible to refer to Jesus Christ specifically. It appears over 80 times across the New Testament. It wasn't chosen casually by the writers. It was chosen because it anchors the character inside a theological identity before he ever opens his mouth. And then there's Neo, his chosen name, the name he carries after awakening. Neo means new in Latin, new man, new nature, a being reborn into a different understanding of reality. But there's a second layer sitting inside those three letters that the film practically screams at you if you rearrange them. Neo is an anagram for one, the chosen one, the title the prophecy assigns him, the title Morpheus has been carrying like a burning coal in his chest for years, waiting for the moment to pass it forward. Two names, one character, and between them, the entire arc of the gospel compressed into an identity. Now, here's where it gets harder to dismiss, because the symbolism doesn't stay in the names. It bleeds into the physical world of the film, into the places, the objects, the geometry of specific scenes. When Neo finally wakes up in the real world, the scene is almost uncomfortably direct in its imagery. He is suspended inside a fluid-filled pod connected to the machine by cables threading into his skin. And when those cables disconnect, he is flushed out through a tube and dropped into a pool of dark water. He breaks the surface, gasping. He is pulled upward. He emerges into a world he has never seen before, raw and disoriented and completely new. That is baptism. Not as metaphor, not as loose visual rhyme. That is the theological ritual of baptism, reconstructed beat for beat in a science fiction sequence. In Christian tradition, baptism represents the death of the old self and the resurrection of the new. You go under as one thing and come up as another. The water doesn't clean you. It marks the boundary between who you were and who you are now. And Neo's emergence from that pod is that boundary, made physical and visceral and impossible to ignore. The film doesn't let you rest there. It keeps going. After Neo wakes, after he trains, after he begins to understand what he is, the story moves him towards Zion. And that word, Zion, is not world-building flavor. It is one of the most loaded geographical terms in all of biblical literature. In the Old Testament, Zion refers first to a specific hill in Jerusalem, then expands to represent the city itself, then expands further to represent the dwelling place of God, the protected home of his people, the place where the faithful are sheltered from the forces that seek to destroy them. The New Testament picks it up and carries it forward into an eschatological vision of a new Jerusalem, a final refuge where the redeemed find rest. In Matrix, Zion is the last human city, the one place the machines cannot reach, the sanctuary buried deep in the earth, where those who have been freed from the simulation live in the truth. However harsh that truth might be, it is the promised land for people who have been unplugged from Egypt. The ship that carries Morpheus and his crew between Zion and the Matrix is called the Nebuchadnezzar. And King Nebuchadnezzar in the Bible is a figure haunted by dreams he cannot interpret, dreams of enormous, terrifying things that point toward a reality beyond his comprehension. He spends his nights being shown a truth he lacks the framework to understand, a man trapped between the world he can see and the meaning he cannot access. The ship named after him carries people who do exactly the opposite. They move between the dream and the real. They know the difference. They can navigate both. The name is an inversion, a signal that the crew of the Nebuchadnezzar has solved the problem that broke the king. They found the interpretation. And then there is Cypher. Cypher is Judas. There's no softer way to say it. The film doesn't try to hide it, it practically labels him. He is the one who walked beside the chosen one, who saw the truth, who lived in the light of it and decided it wasn't worth the cost. The scene where he seals his betrayal happens over a meal. He sits across from Agent Smith in a restaurant inside the Matrix, cutting into a thick steak he knows isn't real, and he makes his deal. He will hand over Morpheus. He will give them Neo. In exchange, he wants to be reinserted into the simulation, with a comfortable life and no memory of what he knows. He is trading the people he loves for the pleasures of the flesh. And I think it's worth pausing here because this detail lands differently when you look at it through a biblical lens. The flesh in Scripture is consistently used as a symbol of sin, of the fallen human appetite that pulls against the spirit. When someone in the Bible gives themselves over to the flesh, it means they've chosen the temporary comfort of the physical world over the eternal weight of something greater. Now, the code, the structure, the agents rushing toward him no longer look like a threat. They look like something he has already defeated. Because he has, he reaches into Agent Smith and tears him apart from the inside. I don't think that's accidental. I don't think anything in this film is accidental. Now, I want to go back to Morpheus for a moment, because I think he's the piece of this that took the longest to fall into place for most people. For years, the easy read was that Morpheus is the mentor figure, the Obi-Wan, the Gandalf, the wise guide who prepares the hero and steps back. And within the structure of the hero's journey, that reading works fine. But within the theological framework of this film, Morpheus is something far more specific. And I wouldn't have landed on it as cleanly if Lawrence Fishburne hadn't said it himself in an interview with Neil deGrasse Tyson. When Tyson, who had spent years analyzing Matrix, admitted he couldn't answer the question of who Morpheus represented, Fishburne looked at him and said, "John the Baptist." John the Baptist is the forerunner, the voice crying in the wilderness, the man who comes before the Messiah, not to be the light, but to point toward it. His entire existence is structured around a faith in someone who hasn't fully arrived yet. He preaches a coming. He prepares hearts. He is radical and misunderstood and dismissed by the establishments of his time. And when the one he's been announcing finally appears, John steps back. His role was never to be the sinner. It was always to clear the path. Morpheus has spent his entire life believing in a prophecy that most people around him no longer trust. He has been called dangerous, obsessive, delusional. He offers people a choice, the red pill, and he pulls them out of the water of their old lives into something new. He does not free Neo's mind in any final sense. He prepares it. He points towards something he knows is coming, but that isn't fully his to carry. And when Neo finally becomes what he was always meant to be, Morpheus doesn't fight for the spotlight. He watches. Because the Forerunner's job is done. What the Wowskis built here is not a loose collection of biblical references sprinkled over a cool action film. It is a complete theological skeleton, wearing science fiction as its skin. The names encode the identity. The rituals encode the transformation. The geography encodes the promise. The characters encode the relationships between divine figures. And the numbers encode the mystery of resurrection.
Okay. So what you think about that?
Shalom. And I haven't like necessarily like this, Brother Leonard, but what he was saying makes sense to me when I go back and think about the movie.
Oh yeah. And then the first thing came to mind with me was the story about Jesus and the when I was telling you that what I was trying to think his name. I say his name all the time. And I was telling you the other couple of days ago in the class about how Cheers. I got a brain cramp. I'll come back to it. Should come back up in a minute. Okay, let me go to something else. Yeah, so I skipped over my need to know, and this is some this is very important. I'm gonna play this. I got a video I wanna bring on the screen first. Let me get it. Yeah, this is eye opening. Okay. Tie your shoes up.
Is this what the third temple might look like? It might. Let's take a look at something.
Check it out.
The first Noahide Congress is meeting in Jerusalem November 2nd through the 4th of 2026. This is a rendering of the third temple on one of the official Noahide websites. And this is a flyer talking about the upcoming congressional meeting. You can see the picture looks very similar to the one they show on the website. And a little bit of research said that is indeed a rendering of the third temple. A side-by-side view, you can kind of see it. This Noahide law movement was founded around the 2000s, the early 2000s to approximately 2010. They say that's because non-Jews contacted this rabbi who's in charge of this Noahide Congress meeting, seeking monotheistic guidance without becoming a Jew, also called a righteous non-Jew. And they believe they have a biblical destiny to be a light to the nations and to build a unified legal structure. Their website quotes Zechariah 2:15, "Many nations shall join themselves to Hashem in that day and shall be my people." They say, this is the day, we invite you to be part of it. The official flyer says, you won't sit in an audience, you'll help to set a cornerstone meant to outlast everyone in the room. They say there are 6 continents which will be involved in this, and the United States is included. There are 5 pillars to the Noahide laws: positive identity, structured membership, ritual and cycle, authority. The communities of Noah put their names to a single founding document, the moment a scattered faith becomes a movement with a record.
Was diagnosed with sciatica, so I had to get this seat cushion with this lower back support. It's memory foam. On long car drives, my back would get stiff and I'd get this pain all the way down my leg.
The countries involved are Japan, India, Colombia, Nigeria, Philippines, France, and the United States. These are the 5 pillars. I won't read them all, but one of them sounds especially interesting. Structured membership, a 3-stage path. First, you have your personal intent, then you have a self-declaration, and then you have an official declaration. The official declaration is before the Beit Din. That means a house of judgment. Also looking at number 4, authority. Rabbi Ori Cherki and the International Beit Din, House of Judgment, formally established at the Congress with regional dayanim, that means judges. Side note about that rabbi is he teaches Jesus is completely unnecessary to connect with God or to access the spiritual light of Israel. He has stated in the past Christianity is now obsolete and invites Christians to drop their belief in Jesus and embrace a biblical identity as a Noahide. One of the websites even offers a Welcome to the Third Temple film. Step inside the Third Temple. It's not built yet, but you can experience it now for $16. Noahide Academy says the Third Temple will be fully open to the nations of the world. The Cohen priest will accept the sacrifices because the Noahides cannot enter the inner court. The Noahide website has a preliminary Noahide self-declaration personal pledge one can sign and fill out to send electronically now. They call it a digital declaration. It's from a book called A Covenant of Peace. The declaration says that one would agree to uphold the 7 universal Noahide laws. They believe these laws were given to Noah, and the laws were intended for all mankind. There's a prohibition against idolatry in all its forms, and please note there's a little asterisk after the word idolatry. We'll look at that in a moment. It's against blasphemy, murder, theft, sexual immorality, prohibition against eating the limbs of a living animal, and establishing courts of justice. That one sounds a bit like the Georgia Guidestones. Let all nations rule internally, resolving external disputes in a world court. Another one of the Noahide websites has their own pledge, and theirs says that you pledge your allegiance to Hashem, God of Israel, creator and king of the universe, and to God's Torah, pledging to observe the 7 laws of Noah in their details according to the oral law of Moshe under the guidance of the rabbis. Baruch atah Adonai, blessed are you, God, King of the universe, who has given me life, supported me, and sustained me till this day. The first declaration we looked at says every person has an obligation, that word obligation, to accept the binding validity of these 7 that were commanded to the descendants of Noah. Aside from accepting the validity of these laws, each person is obligated to observe them in practice. The definition of obligation is a course of action you are required to take, usually due to a legal, moral, or social requirement. It acts as a binding constraint or duty. Now let's look a little closer at the prohibition against idolatry in all its forms. The disclaimer says it is important to note that if you believe that Jesus is God or an incarnation of God, you would not be able to make this declaration sincerely. The Hebrew tradition is clear that God is one and cannot become a human form ever. Please accept our wishes for a blessed life, and may you continue learning the Bible with us. Some say it's a conspiracy theory that the punishment is beheading. On the Noahide.org website, it says under point 16 that the court is to administer the death penalty by the sword, i.e. decapitation. So hopefully they'll allow people to have a blessed life and continue to study the Bible and not face that judgment. No guarantees, however, based upon what I am reading. Under the section for idolatry, it says it's against entertaining the thought that there exists a deity besides Hashem. There has been some recognition of the Noahide laws in America. Here's a picture of Ronald Reagan meeting with some of the rabbis, signing it in. Other presidents have also had some mention of it. So it was not just Ronald Reagan. Public Law Joint Resolution dated April 6, 1990. Whereas these ethical values and principles have been the bedrock of society from the dawn of civilization when they were known as the 7 Noahide laws. I know many people get very excited at the thought of a 3rd temple because they believe the rapture is soon to come and they won't be here to see it. My own personal understanding is that is not what is going to happen, although I do hope I am incorrect and everyone else who believes in a pre-tribulation rapture is correct. Nonetheless, it's important that we continue to stay in the Bible and read the Word, pray, and be prepared mentally for whatever may come. And may you all be blessed.
Hi guys, I'm going to test my new Zoom scope today. 。
Okay. Okay, what you think?
Yeah, that's something right there.
Yeah, this is a doozy, ain't it?
Right. That's crazy.
Oh yeah, and like I said, you think it ain't going down? It's too many connections. You got to they trying to merge the military, Israel military with American military, and like I said, it go right along with handmaiden.
Right.
And did something?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. And like I said, you think it ain't going down? Oh yeah. So I wanted to go back on something I was talking about earlier. Yeah, that was Josephus. Looking at the what's going on with the Matrix and how they cross referencing it with the movie with JC, the same way Josephus did with the New Testament and Titus. I was talking about a couple of days ago.
Okay.
That's what it reminded me of, huh?
I'll say, okay, right. That makes sense.
Right. So with that being said, we're gonna go to back to what I started last night dealing with some more enlightening information on the fact that what the Council of Nicaea, is way bigger than we even thought it was because of from listening to the video and getting endowed with some more information, you realize that everything changed in the whole world after the Council of Nicaea. It changed. What went down with the Council of Nicaea changed the whole course of the world. It's almost it's to me it's just as big as when the 200 angels left and came down here, and the effect they had on the earth and on the world, God's creation after they showed up. So it's around the same effect. What happened with Council of Nicaea. So with that being said, I'm gonna deal with this. Okay, I'm gonna show you that through these videos. Okay, play the one I played last night first. Some of it.
But the untold story about the politics behind the Council of Nicaea.
So politics, like you said, it's nothing to do with religion, but they done brainwashed us, put a spell on everybody that this all happened, it was divine, and attached it to the New Testament, attached it to our records, to the Tanakh, okay?
The year 325 CER, a gathering that would reshape the course of human history, was about to unfold, not in some divine sanctuary or sacred temples, but in a palace hall thick with political tension. Picture this: hundreds of bishops from across the Roman Empire, summoned not by God, but by an emperor who had barely a decade earlier been sacrificing to pagan gods. They came bearing theological disputes that were tearing communities apart. But what they didn't fully grasp was that they were about to become
So like I said, I'm trying not to stop it no more, but imagine these 200 angels made a decision to come down on Mount Hermon, and the decision that they made changed everything. These people did the same thing. They from these fallen angels. But anyway, they just made a decision at we had this meeting at the Council of Nicaea, and they did the exact same thing the angels did.
Pawns in one of the most masterful political maneuvers ever orchestrated. This is the untold story of the Council of Nicaea, and I guarantee that what you're about to discover will fundamentally change how you view one of Christianity's most foundational moments. Because while history books paint this as a sacred gathering where divine truth emerged...
Nothing religious about it. This is the crazy part about it. This is where everybody got brainwashed there. It's nothing religious about it.
Through holy debate.
the reality is far more unsettling. This was politics at its most calculated, religion weaponized for empire, and truth decided not by revelation, but by imperial decree. What you're about to learn isn't just ancient history. The patterns established at Nicaea echo through every major religious and political institution today. The blueprint.
So what you got to understand is, like what they did right here, just go back to when you understand who these people are. And like I said, they're dealing with wicked ass spirits, and then just where they came from, all that. The petrodollar, the Constitution. This is what they do, okay?
For controlling belief, manufacturing consensus, and turning faith into a tool of state power was written in that hall nearly 17 centuries ago. And once you see it, you'll never look at organized religion the same way again. But before we dive into the machinations that unfolded in that council chamber, we need to understand the world that made Nicaea necessary.
The nation of Israel, okay?
Because this
new nation they just created, same thing.
Story doesn't begin with theology or divine inspiration. It begins with an empire in crisis and an emperor who understood that sometimes the most effective weapon isn't a sword, but a creed. The Roman Empire of 325 was a giant with clay feet. Imagine trying to govern a territory that stretched from Britain to North Africa, from Spain to the edges of Persia. For decades, the empire had been hemorrhaging. Civil wars had become routine, with rival generals carving up territories like warlords. The economy was in shambles, inflation was rampant, and barbarian tribes pressed against every frontier like wolves circling a wounded animal. Into this chaos stepped Constantine, a man whose rise to power reads like something out of Game of Thrones. He had clawed his way to the top through a series of brutal civil wars, eliminating rivals with the cold efficiency of a seasoned politician. By 312, he controlled the western half of the empire. But
let's look at that right quick. I did this last night, but I want to make sure people get understand what's going on. So Constantine, I want to show you who he is. This is the crazy part about it. We in the book of Daniel right quick. All right. It says chapter 7. Nobody seems to know this, but 24. Daniel 7 and 24. And the 10 horns, just the 4 beasts, the 10 horns, okay, the 10 horns, and the 10 horns out of this kingdom, 4 beasts, are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall arise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings. That's what he just told you. The Roman Empire got sacked. It was split up into 4 parts. Constantine came on the scene, subdued the other 3, and he became the emperor again. This side of the Roman Empire was the beast that received the wound in the head at first. They sacked Rome, then they got it was revived with Constantine, what they did at the Council of Nicaea when they brought Christianity on the scene, and they brought JC. They revived the 4 beasts. So you have to see right here, they tell you this ain't happened yet. Okay, but we see right here, this is Constantine, 25, and he, this Constantine, shall speak great words against the Most High, and he shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hands until a time, and a violent time. So how long that's going to be? 26. But the judgment is set. Judgment, what they done right here, what he done. The judgment is set, and they shall take away his dominion, take away Constantine, what he done at the Council of Nicaea. We still dealing with that. So to take away his dominion and consume and destroy it until the end. Then here it goes. This is Ezekiel 37. And the kingdom and the dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heavens shall be given to the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve him. So you say, what are you talking about? Well, if you go back up in verse 25, it says, let's go up. Yeah, 25. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and he shall wear out the saints, the Israelites. When he done this, he wore out the Israelites all the way to, we still dealing with that now. But in the end, 27, the kingdom shall be, and the dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given back to the saints of the Most High. That's how big this is. Okay, we've been glazing over it, but check it out.
Its hold on power was anything but secure. The empire was fractured, exhausted, and desperately needed something to bind it together. Now here's where the story gets interesting. Constantine claimed to have had a vision before the Battle of the Milvian Bridge, seeing a cross in the sky with the words, "In this sign, conquer." Whether this vision was genuine religious experience or brilliant political theatre, we'll never know. What we do know is that Constantine was far too shrewd a politician to let a good crisis go to waste. Christianity in 325 was nothing like the unified institution we know today. It was a patchwork of competing groups, each claiming to possess the true understanding of Jesus's message. Some saw Jesus as fully divine, others as fully human, and still others as something in between. There were communities that emphasized mystical experience, others that focused on ethical living, and some that built elaborate theological systems around Greek philosophy. The human cost of this system was staggering.
Okay.
Bishops were exiled and recalled, exiled again and recalled again, depending on imperial whims. Entire communities were forced to switch theological positions multiple times within a single generation. Families were torn apart by loyalty tests that had nothing to do with genuine spiritual conviction and everything to do with political survival. Consider the fate of Athanasius, the fierce opponent of Arianism who had helped craft the Nicene position. Despite being on the winning side, he was exiled 5 separate times by different emperors. His crime wasn't changing his theology, it was maintaining the same position while political winds shifted around him. The very consistency that should have been his vindication became his liability in a system where theological truth was subordinated to imperial convenience. The international dimensions of this theological chaos reveal the broader imperial strategy at work. Different regions of the empire were played against each other through competing religious loyalties. The eastern provinces, with their more philosophical Greek culture, tended toward Arian positions. Suspected heretics, loyalty oaths based on Nicene formulations were required for certain positions. Libraries were searched for prohibited texts. The machinery of persecution that had once targeted Christians was now being used by Christians against other Christians.
So through this process right here, the reason why we didn't have no access to the Book of Enoch and Jasher and all that because of these nut buckets. But they got you thinking that they would, all this happened was holy and was tied to the Tanakh, to the God of Israel and all that. No, it wasn't. Like I said, it's like the Constitution wasn't when they concocted that, and when they concocted the petrodollar, it wasn't tied to Israel. It wasn't tied to the Israelites. But Yahweh. Okay. New Testament. Okay, they got you thinking it's tied to God, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, when it's not. Okay. So that was one video. Here go the other one. Okay.
On this flood.
Okay.
Drifted away, or simply stopped believing somewhere along the way, you probably carried a suspicion with you. A sense that the story you'd been told was too clean, that the history was too seamless, that somewhere along the line, someone had edited out the parts that didn't fit. You were right. And here's what makes it worse. The information exists. It has existed for centuries.
Exactly.
The real story of how Christianity became Christianity, how the version you inherited won out over all the others, how political deals and imperial enforcement shaped what would be called eternal truth. That information sits in seminaries. It's taught in church history courses. It fills academic libraries. Pastors learn it. Scholars debate it. It's there. It just never makes it to the pews.
Like I said, one point that's got to be understood is we don't see Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, none of them going to no seminary. The seminary tied to Council of Nicaea. So every Negro, every pastor you see now, they didn't went to seminary. They tied to this system right here, beast system. That's why they can't see none of this. Most High they work today, and they can't see it. They constantly got to associated with what was given, what happened at the Council of Nicaea. When they got their little certificate, they went right there and sat down at the table with the beast. Okay? And no other way to say it. Check it out.
The Council of Nicaea in 325 is one of the clearest examples of this pattern. You may have heard the name. You may have a vague sense it was important. But what actually happened there, and why it matters for understanding the religion you left, that's precisely what stays in the classroom and never reaches the congregation. Let me give you what you never got. Not speculation, not conspiracy theory, what historians document, what scholars teach, what exists in the academic record, but somehow never shows up in Sunday school.
Exactly.
Before Nicaea, there wasn't one Christianity. There were multiple competing versions, and each one claimed to be the real thing.
Paganism.
This isn't controversial among historians. It's basic church history. Scholars call it the diversity of early Christianity, and they've been documenting it for over a century. But think about how different that is from what you were taught. You were given a story of one true faith handed down from Jesus to the apostles, to the church, to you. An unbroken line, a single tradition preserved through the ages. The historical reality is that if you'd become a Christian in the year 200, you would have had to choose between dramatically different options, not denominations arguing about worship styles. Fundamentally different religions all calling themselves followers of Christ, different understandings of who Jesus was, different scriptures, different paths to salvation. In some cases, different gods entirely.
So let's look at that right quick. So all it did was when they done this at the Council of Nicaea, he just told you what Christianity was before Council of Nicaea, right? They had all these different views because it's pagan, like I said, and the person they're saying is Christ was sincerity, right? Okay, and so anyway, look what they're doing now. Everybody got to go grab a little building, put a church front, put a sign up on the front of it, and they got their own church everywhere. That's what it was doing at first, before the Council of Nicaea came. We weren't tied to the Lord of hosts and Yahweh and Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Okay?
The Ebionites believed Jesus was human, fully human, the biological son of Joseph and Mary, a righteous man so devoted to God that he was adopted as son at his baptism, elevated and honored, but a man nonetheless. They followed Jewish law because Jesus had followed it. They kept kosher. They observed the Sabbath. They circumcised their sons. And they rejected Paul completely. To the Ebionites, Paul was a false apostle who had corrupted the original message, who had twisted a Jewish movement into something its founder wouldn't recognize. And here's the part that matters. They trace their tradition to James, the actual brother of Jesus, the one who led the Jerusalem church after the crucifixion. James, who knew Jesus personally. James, who grew up in the same household, ate at the same table, heard whatever Jesus said to his own family.
Dude, guess how much it cost me to make sure my family gets $1 million?
Isn't some later invention by people who never met the founder. This was arguably the oldest form of Christianity we can identify historically, connected directly to Jesus's own blood relatives. Think about what that means. A form of Christianity led by Jesus's brother taught that Jesus was human, not God incarnate, not the second person of the Trinity, a man chosen by God, elevated by God, but human. That form of Christianity lost. The version connected to Jesus's actual family was eventually declared heresy. It was pushed out, suppressed, and largely forgotten. The version that won was developed by people who had never met Jesus, never shared a meal with him, never heard his voice. The Marcionites went in a completely different direction. Marcion was a wealthy ship owner who came to Rome around 140 and started teaching something that seemed obvious to him. He looked at the God of the Old Testament, the God who drowned the world in a flood, who commanded the slaughter of every man, woman, and child in Canaan, who demanded animal sacrifice and blood and fire and death. And he concluded this could not possibly be the same deity as the loving Father Jesus talked about. Two gods. That was Marcion's answer.
Two
The God
gods.
of the Hebrew Scriptures was the creator of this flawed material world, a deity of harsh justice and violent punishment. The God Jesus came to reveal was entirely different, a God of pure love and mercy, who had nothing to do with creation, who sent Jesus to rescue humanity from the Creator's domain. Marcion rejected the entire Old Testament, every word of it. He created what may have been the first explicit Christian canon of Scripture,
Exactly.
a specific list of which writings counted as authoritative. His canon included a version of Luke's Gospel and 10 letters of Paul. Nothing else. No Matthew, Mark, or John, no Hebrew scriptures, no Acts. His movement spread across the Mediterranean like wildfire.
Exactly.
Churches bearing his name existed for centuries. Church fathers wrote volume after volume trying to refute his teachings. Justin Martyr attacked him. Irenaeus attacked him. Tertullian wrote 5 entire books against Marcion. 5 books dedicated to destroying one man's ideas. You don't mount that kind of sustained campaign against a fringe nobody. You do that against a movement that's spreading, that's winning converts, that's threatening to become the dominant form of the faith. The Gnostics weren't one group, but an entire constellation of movements sharing certain core ideas. They taught that the material world was not the creation of the ultimate God, but of a lesser, ignorant deity. Some called this creator the demiurge. Some identified him with the God of the Hebrew Scriptures. The physical world was a prison, a place of darkness and forgetting, and human souls were sparks of divine light trapped in bodies of flesh. Salvation for the Gnostics wasn't about believing the right things about Jesus' death. It wasn't about faith or grace or accepting a sacrifice. It was about gnosis, knowledge, secret understanding that revealed who you really were and how you came to be trapped in matter and how you could escape when you died. Jesus, in Gnostic understanding, came to wake people up, to remind them of their true nature, to deliver the knowledge that would set them free. They had their own scriptures. The Gospel of Thomas, a collection of sayings attributed to Jesus, some of which sound like the familiar Gospels, and some of which go in directions you've never heard. The Gospel of Philip, with its mysterious references to sacraments and rituals, the Orthodox Church never practiced. The gospel of truth, a meditation on awakening and return to the divine source. The secret book of John, with its elaborate mythology of how the universe went wrong and how it might be set right. Since of the emperor, all but 3 of those came around. Arius and 2 of his closest supporters refused to sign. They were exiled, not just excommunicated from the church, exiled by imperial decree. Constantine didn't merely endorse the council's theological conclusion. He enforced it with the power of the Roman state. Arius was sent away from Alexandria, from his supporters, from any position of influence. His books were ordered burned. Possessing his writings became dangerous. From that moment forward, the position condemned at Nicaea wasn't just a theological error you could argue about. It was a crime against the unity of the empire. The emperor had drawn the line between acceptable belief and unacceptable belief.
Have you ever wanted to see your home from space?
On that line with a sword. Here's what that means for the creed you may have recited as a child, the Nicene Creed. We believe in one God, the Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth. We believe in one Lord Jesus Christ, the only Son of God, eternally begotten of the Father. God from God, light from light, true God from true God, begotten not made, of one substance with the Father. That phrase, of one substance with the Father, that's homoousios. That specific word, that precise formulation, was inserted into the creed at a council convened by an emperor who called the underlying theological question trifling, paid for by imperial funds, decided by a vote taken in the emperor's presence, and enforced by imperial exile for those who refused to sign. If this was the Holy Spirit guiding the church to eternal truth, why did it require an emperor who didn't understand the issues? If this was what Christians had always believed, why were there bishops who disagreed? Why did it take a council to settle it? Why did the council need imperial enforcement to make it stick? But here's what shows how this really worked. Nicaea didn't actually settle anything, not permanently. The decades after the council reveal exactly how political the whole process was. Arius himself was eventually recalled from exile. Constantine, toward the end of his life, softened toward the Arian position. The same emperor who had enforced the Nicene outcome began to wonder if maybe he'd been too harsh on the other side. And when Constantine died, his son Constantius II took power in the Eastern Empire. Constantius actively supported the Arians. Under his reign, the Nicene position went from being imperially enforced to being imperially opposed. Bishops who had championed homoousios at Nicaea now found themselves on the wrong side of imperial favor. He was cursed with all the curses written in the Torah. His own family cut him off completely. And the Jewish community wasn't alone. Christians across Europe banned his books. Catholic authorities condemned them. Protestant authorities condemned them. Possessing Spinoza's writings could destroy your reputation, end your career, mark you as someone dangerous to know. Someone tried to stab him outside a synagogue. The knife tore his coat. He kept that torn coat for the rest of his life, as a reminder of what asking questions could cost. Spinoza spent his remaining years grinding lenses for a living. It was precise, difficult work that slowly filled his lungs with glass dust. He lived in rented rooms, moving when pressure from authorities made landlords nervous, writing philosophy that almost no one read while he was alive. He died at 44, poor, largely alone. The excommunication never lifted. His books still banned across most of Europe. Why? Why such fury against one man looking carefully at history? Because looking carefully threatens the whole structure. If you can show that claims of eternal truth have human origins, that orthodoxy emerged from political processes, that the clean story is actually a construction that hides a messier reality, then authority based on that clean story starts to crack. If religious texts can be analyzed like any other texts, religious institutions can be questioned like any other institution. If the story of divine preservation is actually a story of human construction, then demands for unquestioning acceptance lose their foundation. That's what they tried to stop when they went after Spinoza.
Okay. So with that being said, we're gonna open it up. If you're gonna put that, let's put the link out. You're gonna put the link out, AJ.
Right, yes, sir.
Open it up for Q&A. Same thing you heard on this class, you want to talk about it or ask some questions, we're going to do it right here.
And Shalom, Brother Leonard, I have a question about, I think it was from the uncomfortable conversations with a non-Messianic Hebrew. I think it was episode 8, part 2. And
Okay.
that yes, sir, that visual that you were showing about that Noah building.
Right.
On I'm pretty sure in episode 8, part 2, it had on there a visual about the Dubai Ziggurat project.
Okay.
And it's pretty much kind of like the same kind of building. You know, it looked similar, but it was shaped like a pyramid though, with a
Right.
plateau on top, but it was like kind of gold looking, just like that Noah building. But it all ties together too, because it's a part of that Agenda 2030.
Right. Yeah, they're right. They know the history of the ziggurats and the Tower of Babel and all that. So that's what it's all about. Because we can see right here from the information that came out that none of this stuff came from tied to God, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Okay, they use that as they tied to it in order to make it work, but it's not, and none of it got nothing to do with the Most High and Israel, none of that. Okay, you got anything else?
Shalom, no sir.
Okay. Anybody else got anything?
Yes, sir. Shalom, everyone, and happy Sabbath. Brother Leonard, a lot was talked about this week. I found it very interesting, the conversation you guys had about the movies and shows predicting or telling the future. Earlier this week, I didn't think anything of it, but I heard there were 12 states, including California, Washington, New York, that were basically filing a lawsuit. They already did it, against Warner Brothers being basically brought by Paramount. And I think Warner Brothers, earlier this week, there was a video that talked about the Vanguard Group and their own, basically, the Vanguard Group is a whole bunch of Jews. And that's who owns Paramount. Even though it's all these shares, they have a large portion of the shares. So it was just interesting to hear about these acquisitions that have been happening through the years. And now there's an actual lawsuit. That was just interesting. I had never heard what you guys talked about with the Matrix before until today. I was a child when that came out. The movie was just interesting, quite honestly. I never watched it later as an adult, but I didn't even know those names, Nebuchadnezzar and Zion. It never hit me as a child that those words were even used in that video, in that movie. So that I can see how it's easy, again, talking about the powers that be owning all this media, how it's easy to help brainwash people. I did not know that that movie, excuse me, even had biblical terms in it. So that was an eye opener. Mm-hmm. And then also, somehow, some way, my nephew and I watched a movie that was made about 45 years ago. He just picked it on YouTube. The video showed America and Russians working together and how so many people were frustrated that America was working with Russians. And as I'm watching it, I thought, huh? It just, it was eye-opening because like you were sharing today, and you've said this a lot, not just today, they put this stuff right in front of our face. So that was eye-opening. And I had a question about the Noahide laws.
Okay.
We've had some people that died recently, but people have been dying all throughout in America, like elite people just suddenly dying, not being sick. Do you feel like that's because, like you shared today, that this has been an ongoing thing? It's not recent. It's just now in the public's face. Do you think at some point some of these politicians and elite people actually did take this vow or pledge or oath, and that's why they died? Because they at some point decided not to follow along with these Edomites?
Exactly. It goes all the way back to the beginning when the Most High told Solomon, he told David he told Nathan to go tell David that he was going to take his people and plant them, and they weren't going to move no more. And the children of wickedness was not going to violate them. Well, those children of wickedness, nobody seems to don't want to identify them, address it. So way back, when you go back to, like I said, they killed Julius Caesar in the Senate. These are the same people. They've been murdering, and those are the ones that eventually became the Khazarians, and they ended up in Jerusalem. And they brought them back again. They was there in 70 AD with the Edomites, and then they was kicked out by Titus and Vespasian, and then they went to Spain, back where the 3 ships came all the way back around, and they ended up back in Israel, so-called Israel, in 1948. All of that's right there in the book of Malachi. But they killed Julius Caesar. He come all the way down. They killed Lincoln. They killed the Kennedy boys. Anything they got in the way of their agenda, they killed it. And now we seeing it. It's starting to resurface again right now because, like I said, when you understand where we at in history, they made their move with Project 2025, and in order for them to accomplish their move, they cannot allow the midterm elections to happen, because everything they had gonna get washed out, because they're gonna vote all these clowns out that's helping them. So they gotta do what they're gonna do now. Right? It's gotta happen now. And that's where we at. So now it's coming out in the open. You can see who they are. And so we see already two senators that came up missing already. And I was looking at a video last night and this morning where this guy They got him center stage. He's the one that's pushing the issue to defund Israel. So we're gonna keep an eye on him, see what happens, and we're gonna also keep an eye on Trump because he's doing things for whatever reason it is. He's bumping up against their agenda. After all they done for him, like I said, these people are the ones behind the reason why he can have 32 counts, felony counts, and still be the president. They the one orchestrated that. So and now all of a sudden, after all they've done, he's going against them. So that's gonna be us. We're gonna see how that play out. But they the ones, like I said, with JFK, all them people that come up missing. When you go back and understand what they went against their agenda, and then they came up missing. Okay.
Yes, sir. And that makes sense. In alignment with the Noahide laws, as you were showing the video today, I was overwhelmed. Like in my head, I just kept thinking, this is sickening. For years after there was a push to put the 10 Commandments in the schools, I was just thinking, for what? And so my question now is, do you think that was a push to get it in the schools to have a way to allow the children or encourage them to easily transition to Noahide laws? And if not, what was the powers that be intent for trying to push the 10 Commandments in the schools? Shalom.
Well, right. Well, you can just go back in history. I mean, what you know about Arius and Ananias, back to what they talk about the Council of Nicaea. Them men was according to who was the emperor. They would put anybody that believed in Arius. They ban them and cast them out of the Roman government. And then when another emperor come and he side with Arius, they bring them back, and they was back in the same way with the British Empire with the Scots. It's according to what they believe that was in power. They would bring certain people in and keep certain people out. And we see the same thing going on now with the Christian nationalists and with the Zionists and all that same thing. And none of it got to do with the Creator. None of it got to do with the Tanakh and the Most High people. They totally through all these creeds and all that, like you were saying, none of it has to do with nothing with the Most High God. They wrote him out the story. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So you got something, Michelle?
Yes, sir. Shabbat shalom, everyone. I was thinking about, Brother Leonard, when you played the video earlier about the Europeans and the sun, right?
Right.
I look at that as though, again, they are not the people, right?
Right.
Melanated people, and they are trying to get there. So by tanning their skin in the sun, and they can't tolerate that. They are the ones that lack vitamin D. We do not, right? And so once you think about that, with them bathing in the sun and having lack of summer exposure like the southern parts of the states, right?
Mm-hmm.
They try to obtain as much sun as they can, which is not good for them. So we have to look at that again as they are not the people. So when you look at the people that's in Israel now, they are white people. They are not black people. So they are trying to get to where we're at. Yes, sir. Exactly. Exactly. I saw a video on that also, and I just wanted to comment on that because I watched a video on that about them exposing themselves to the sun the way they do. Say, for instance, they're going to get skin cancer,
Exactly.
You know, yes, when they are exposed to the sun like that. So again, we have to look at it. They not like us. They want to be like us, but they're not like us.
Right. And the crazy part about it, like I said, is what that guy was just talking about. What happened at the Council Neil Seal was it was politics, and the guy they already knew what they was going to do. They already knew the direction they want to go in, but they had to fool the whole world or known world at the time to make them think they had a choice. But the whole time they didn't have no choice. And so, like he said, once they brought in what they brought in, people was afraid. Indirectly, they making it look like they had a choice, but they was knew if I go in this direction, I'm gonna end up dead or banished or whatever. So we see that happening right now today. People by sitting there, you can't rationally make a decision on something because you already know that if I make this decision over here, then it ain't according to what the powers that be got, I'm gonna come up dead. So now it's a part of what I say about the spell. You can't even rationally think about and you know, use your mind, the God given mind you got, because you already know I can't go this route. You know what I'm saying? It's like somebody that's saying they don't believe in Jesus. It just the Lord of Hosts just recently opened that door up where, you know, people can make these decisions like that. But just 10 years ago, you couldn't run around and saying talking about JC ain't real and he ain't this and that, you know, because of the powers that be, the system they had in place, which is what they set in place at the Council Neil Seal. But they make it look like you got a choice, but you can't. There's certain things you can't believe, you can't say. Yeah, at one time you couldn't even say that the earth was round. You came up dead. You know what I'm saying? So it's just recently the Most High then bringing it around, like he said, it's going to be in the last days. The spirit, the truth is going to come out. The truth is going to rise, and it's him. But for the longest, you couldn't believe what you wanted to believe. You come up dead. Okay, ain't that something? Anybody else got anything?
Shalom. Brother Leonard, I have two more things. I had one, but in regards to what you were just saying, about 2 weeks ago, I was reading, it's an interview from like 30 or 40 years ago. So there's no video or audio recording. It's just the text from the interview. It's a doctor who was very old at the time, talking about he went to some conference for doctors, and someone speaking was talking exactly about what you just mentioned. And he said he never wanted to talk about it because he didn't want to end up dead, but he was old enough that he didn't care. And I just keep being surprised about how much history is out there, not made up stuff. But this doctor goes on to say, yes, sir, that in this conference, this person speaking to them, who is also a doctor, who is letting them know that things are going to change. He includes in there about how we're going to start lying to people about research. And he said he was dumbfounded, and he could see the looks on all these other doctors' faces because it was so much information they were given about what they're going to do. We're going to make sure that parents, basically, we're going to start the world. This other doctor speaking was a part of some high up group, Illuminati, whatever it may have been, whatever. But he's saying that we're going to start making clothes different for women, so they have no other choice but to wear more revealing things. He even said we're going to change the way bras work, so it's not covering up the private parts for women, but it's making men lust more. And it was just, and this is back, he said this conference was like in 1969. And he said he was overwhelmed with how much this man was saying, who was also a doctor. He said, we're going to start the man speaking to the doctor said, we're going to start infiltrating the schools for sexual education. And the reason we're going to do that is to get people interested in having sex. And we want them to be interested in having sex, but at the same time, we're going to start promoting abortions. And all the parents will be against it. But when their daughter comes up pregnant, they'll be okay. It's just the way it's going to work. And he said a lot of different things that I've seen in my lifetime and that I know that have happened. And it was just interesting to read it because the way he put it is exactly what you said, Brother Leonard, that the masses will follow because it's the only option. He said a few people won't, but it won't matter because the masses are already following. Those outliers will not matter.
Right.
And it is something when you read history for what it is.
Right. And the template is Council of Nicaea. That was the template. Like I said, from there, that's when and they noticed that at the Council of Nicaea is they dealing with the God, the Israelites is melanated because of like Michelle was just saying, melanation is who we are. We the people of the book, and we deal with the sun. But the people that the Most High got a problem with is the ones that he took away the melanin. That's what he did to Cain. And we see it all through the scriptures. He take the melanin out of people. So just that alone, people don't even know that. It's something, if you're not melanated, it's something ain't right. And so matter of fact, I was telling AJ earlier, I think it was, I was telling him about, it's a video out there now, sort of like the one I showed everybody on, with the angels was flying and guarding the Israelites, and they was going back from the Exodus. Well, they got a video now, this AI video, separation. I can't think of the name of it. It's got something to do. You know the name of that I gave you, AJ? Separation, some separation.
The Great Separation.
Yeah, the Great Separation is a video. It's got part 1 and 2. You need to watch that. I think that was kind of, it's talking about how the sun got so, see, they able to maintain themselves right now because the sun only gets to a certain temperature. But this, all of a sudden, the sun got extremely, way more like it is now. They got an extreme heat wave going on now that's killing people. So now they can't come out. They got to go, like the guy was saying, the Arabs was going in the video, the Arabs all was fleeing to the mountains, to the caves where they came from. And then you had all the white folks fleeing underground and fleeing in their houses. They couldn't come out in the sun. And then at the same time, because of the more intense the sun got, the more our characteristics and our abilities that they had taken away started showing up. So they was just sitting in these buildings, in these caves, looking out and seeing us transforming. So I thought that was that's kind of crazy, that video, the way it came out and the way we're looking at everything happening now, how all these heat waves, this severe weather is heat coming. Yeah.
Yes, sir. You even spoke on that earlier, about all these things happening with the flooding and the heat, but we're still being protected. And I thought that was something else because later, after you and Brother AJ talked about that, my family did a group trip to a zoo. And I know that people without melanin put on sunscreen. I've known that all my life.
Right.
But for some reason, Brother Leonard, when I saw a mom pull her daughter into the shade and put it on, for the first time in my life, I thought, I don't know anything about that life. Like, why do you need sun? I didn't, for the first time in my life, it registered with me. I don't understand why you need to get out of the sun. Like, why is it burning you? I don't understand.
Exactly. Oh yeah. And we look right over it. Like I said, they didn't cover over the fact that why Cain, what he did to Cain. And he did it to the serpent. He took the melanin from the serpent also. And we see it all through the scriptures. He took the He take the melanin away. It's a gift. So yeah. So there's no way under the sun that the Israelites is of a white hue. It don't make sense. Yeah. So anybody else got anything else before we go? Any other questions or comments?
Shalom, Brother Leonard. I have a comment. So when you go back in history and you truly look at what they have done to us as a people, right? We always behaved and carried ourselves in a certain way. So even during slavery, the women were modest, right? They would tie their hair up with rags, their dresses always remained a certain length. So it is us that they continuously now try to change, right? Because again, we are the people. So when you go back into history and you even look at the way the pharmaceuticals came about, the history of the medical field, right? It was them trying to destroy us, right? That's why when we read in the scripture in the book of Jeremiah, Isaiah, Zechariah, and so forth, he speaks of a remnant, right? So when he scattered us among the nations, he told us we were going to pick up their ways.
Exactly.
So therefore, we have to look at there's always a remnant, right? That he is dealing with, that he is gonna awaken, and we're gonna realize that we don't follow the masses, right? We don't follow the trends. We don't go along with the new fashions that's coming out. We don't go out and run and buy all of the new makeup that they're putting out, all the different sunscreens, the different supplements and so forth, right? So we have to think about they are years ahead of us, and that is because they are continuously trying to destroy us. So I always look at there's a remnant that is not going to be part of the masses. They have always been lustful people. They have always been the opposite of what the Old Testament says about the children of Israel.
Right, exactly. And the crazy part about that, I was talking to AJ earlier about a jubilee, right? You understand what a jubilee is, right?
Is that speaking of the
Yeah, I'm talking. Okay. No, I'm talking to you.
Okay, is that the years?
Like 7 times 7 49, right?
Yes, sir. And the 50
7 times
jubilee.
The 50 is jubilee. So notice how they just like everything else, they always tell us they 50 years ahead of us.
I always speak of the round table, Brother Leonard. I always say that. Then whenever they get around the round table, they're up to something. So like you was playing even about the Simpsons, Brother Leonard, they speaking of today because they know who we are. So they're able to put this type of information out that we don't even pay attention to, but it's right there in our face.
Right, just like the Matrix. We just breaking down the Matrix. So yeah, they doing it right in front of our faces, and but we don't have no understanding on it because they took it away, which is the whole time they sitting there with the information. It's being passed down from one generation to the next, but it's been taken away from us. Okay, yeah. So yeah,
right, brother. Yes, sir. And I think about when Victoria's Secrets came out, right? And they would be on the runway half naked, right? Just with a bra and panty. That's not us as a people. We don't do things like that, but they don't think anything of it. So therefore we go run out there and we do the same thing that they're doing. So now you see women out and they're wearing their bra as a shirt now. It's a lace bra, with these fancy designs, and that's the way we're out in public now, but again, there's a remnant that he's dealing with that looks at that and knows that's not the correct way to be out in public. So when you look at men are hunters. They're naturally built a certain type of way. But again, there are men that he is dealing with that look at that as a turnoff. And
Oh yeah, exactly.
I think about maybe a year or so ago now, you played this video on Women's Night that there was this young lady that, really, really pretty young lady, and she was dressed a certain type of way, and the men were chasing her, right? Just all lustful.
Mm-hmm.
So then the next part of the video, she was covered up. She had on a head wrap, everything. Not one man, nobody paid attention to her.
Right.
So therefore, if you dress a certain type of way, you're going to get a certain type of attention.
Right. And then he go back to the laws. Under the Lord of hosts, and he understood that. And you know what I mean, that a woman that's covered up, it's going to cause less problems than a woman that's uncovered.
Yes, sir.
So he understood that. The reason why he gave him the laws. And then as soon as you go outside of those laws, you looking to get caught up.
Each and every time. Yes,
That's
sir.
Oh, yeah.
That's why the women were not allowed to be amongst the men like that.
Exactly.
It was a certain law that prohibited that. But now you have women that feel as though they have to be in the midst of men because they want to be looked at a certain type of way when the law did not, allow that. That's why it speaks of men at the gate. Like,
right, exactly.
You have to look at all of that they have imposed on us that we think is okay.
Exactly. And in being in the times that we are, like I said, we're waiting for the Creator to come back. To know those things, then you figure out how to maneuver around it. But
Yes,
it's a big difference in not knowing and knowing.
Right.
Because then you learn, then you realize how to maneuver around it. That's like I was saying. So you go into I watched this movie where this guy had robbed a bank for like $3 or $4 million, and he ran into this motel, and then he had the money, and he beat cops, the CIA, everybody was tracking him, and then while he was in the motel, he pulled the rug up and all that, and then he put the money under the floor in that room, like room 20, right? And so all them years he was in pen, there was people going in and out of that room. I know it was $3 or $4 million under the floor. But you ain't. So I'm saying, but then as soon as he come back, he know it's in there. You know what I mean? So he go in there. He ain't going in there blind or ignorant. But everybody else that then came in the room, stayed there the whole night, stayed a weekend, whatever. They sitting there on top of $4 million and don't even know it.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's big.
It is. Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah.
Very big. Yes. Shalom.
Yeah. Anybody else got anything before we go?
Yes, sir. My last thing. Brother Leonard, I'm back to Noahide laws. The reason why I just felt like it was disgusting, specifically watching the video you showed today, and I will say this first. I have talked about being in a sorority when I was younger in college. What they put up is similar. One of the pillars that lady was speaking about is similar to, well, two of them. They don't kill you, quote unquote. That's not anywhere in the text. But once you go against them or you denounce them, you can never come back. But also those pillars look exactly like, and the pledges look exactly like what I would say, because I've only been in one sorority, but I've talked to other people that have denounced and left sororities. They look like exactly what happens in these secret societies, for lack of better words, a sorority or fraternity, and whatever other secret society. And so when you showed that, it was just, oh my goodness. To me, it just was disgusting. The powers that be are consistently trying to pull people away from the Lord of hosts and the one and only judge of the world. And I feel like that blended right on in with the Council of Nicaea and what's his name? Marcion.
Right.
It's that, again, history for the sake of history. That to me, that is just to know that a human made up a culture based on an idol they made up, a fake high power, a fictional god, an imagined deity. If every child of Jacob knew that, how much that would change things. But again, and you say this oftentimes, we've started in the back of the book because of this punishment that we're enduring. And some people eyes and ears just are not open. But that I was really sickened to see that they have this whole basically national secret society they're about to start. That's what it looked like to me because of being in a sorority previously. And then blending that in with going to Marcion, I just thought it is what it is, but it's still sickening sometimes when I am learning history for what it actually is. Shalom.
Right. So they're not starting it. It's been in place the whole time. We just waking up. Like I was saying, the secret societies and all that got the same program, same one with the sororities that they gave us at the black colleges, HBUC, all that. They same thing. So he told us that we're gonna get scattered amongst the nations and pick up their ways.
Right.
So yeah, all that's been in place. We just being the Most High is waking people up to, and it's being exposed. That's what that is.
Yes, sir. And that's what I went to HBCU. I've never said that, but I'm telling you guys now. And that's what I learned, that these fraternities and sororities only started because Black people could not get into the white one. It wasn't because they had a real reason. You could have started a group to help your community without calling it a sorority or fraternity, but they started them because they could not get into the white ones.
Right.
And that, yeah, again, it's just sickening to me. Shalom.
What another thing? Look at that on that before we go. Another thing, what we don't know, we find out now, but they knew the Most High already got in place. Like with the sun, if you don't have no metal, the sun gonna cook your ass. It's that simple. So with the DNA, he said the Father, you who you are. If the Father is the Israelite, you're gonna be Israelite. Well, all the people you at HBCU schools, but they didn't penetrate a lot of these kids. To you know they father white. So if you bring that program, which is a pagan program, to them, they're gonna latch on to it. Some of them that can be the Hebrews latch on to it out of ignorance, but most of them you gravitate to it because that's who you are, and that's what they've done. So many people, you saying that they go back and trace their origins, they father ain't no Israelite. Look what David's son did to him. Tell you usurped his authority. Absalom. Yeah. Somebody got something else?
Yes, sir. The slave master was unfortunately taking many Israelite women.
Right. The transatlantic slave trade. A whole nother race was created on that trip. And in the plantation, in the houses, on the plantations. And that's what, like I said, look at all the people when they start talking about the NAACP and its origins and all that. Them dudes, W.E. Du Bois. Look how they look. Okay? Yeah.
That is who I was going to mention, Brother Leonard. They used those people to spear a lot of things when it came to the Black people, because at one point, had us thinking that darker skin was not good, to look on that the lighter skin was the best. So those are the people they use to spear a lot of the things at the HBCU schools and to introduce things to the communities where the Black people were, to have the darkest skinned people wanting to bleach their skin to look lighter and things. It's those people that they use that were, you know, a mixed race.
Right.
They introduced those things.
Confused.
Right. Brought them in to, you know,
right,
have us thinking a different way, you know? Yeah.
And we see the plumb line right now. He said, he told us, in the last days, I'm going to pour out my spirit on you, and then Israelites going to gravitate to it. It's like you're going to be looking crazy. But that's where we at. Oh, yeah. So, yeah.
Shalom. And this is my last thing. Brother Leonard, you and Sister Michelle touched on something. I never listened to or followed Louis Farrakhan. I heard about him. I've seen videos and other people. I was, again, disgusted when I found out you saying my brother and my sister so often, but you, historically, it's on the public record. You're not, your mom or your dad, I can't remember which, is white.
Exactly.
And that bothered me. You consistently saying my brother and my sister, and most of these people I would see in the audiences or behind him in pictures and in videos, they clearly had all of them had darker skin than him.
Exactly. And then the crazy part about it, that's what I had to learn. That's even, you know, you can give them a pass on that. But then it's when the truth comes and the truth come out and you tell them, and then they reject that. That's where the drama come in there.
Yes, sir.
You know, because you can be, like I said, you got people that may got involved, you know, fraternities or whatever, Israelites, but they was ignorant. And then when you told them about it, they got away from it. But you tell them about it, and they go further in as if you ain't told them nothing. That's when you got a problem. Because you got Israelites out there caught up in things out of ignorance. They Israelites, but you got some out there that's, like I'm saying, you trace their father, trace their lineage back. A prime example is Farrakhan. I mean, your father was this and that, but now you got the part in your head, you wearing your hairstyle, all that, just like the guy Farah Muhammad. Everything you doing is like the white man, but you started perpetrating the fraud that's on the black man's side. But everything you trying to be like him. That's where the problem come in there. Yeah.
Yes, sir. One day I had thought, when is he ever going to have the same hair as the people in his audience?
Exactly. It ain't working. Okay, yeah. You got anything else, AJ?
Oh, shalom, brother Leonard. Just, one comment on that. I always look up like what the fathers look like. Since you had showed us that, because I that was something I never thought about with the fact that the Hebrew men wasn't having children for a certain amount of time, you know, on those boats and things like that, and first getting to the plantations. So when I was looking at like Farrakhan, you know, when I was younger, and I went to a HBCU as well, so a lot of my friends look up to him and stuff like that. But when I was always looking at him like, but he don't look like me, you know. And then I actually looked up his father. And I'm just like, I mean, he not black. That's not a black man. You know, same with guys like Nipsey Hussle. You know, a lot of my friends love Nipsey Hussle. And, you know, Nipsey was cool. He did some things for the community. But when you look at his father and his brothers, you know, they're not black. Like, they're not Hebrews like us.
Right.
And so
they looking more, they more toward Jews.
Right. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Because our fathers was successful in a part of these affiliations that we've been talking about some kind of way. So.
Exactly. Well, yeah, man, because they and like the crazy part about why you see the world crumbling today now is because of for the longest, we was in the dark on those things. But the Most High took the veil off, and the things that they were sliding by, getting away with things, and because we was in the dark, we didn't understand that. I mean, a prime example. I mean, look at what's the dude name? I just had his name on one. The civil rights leader. What his name?
W.E.
No,
the boy.
The other one. The one. No, he's recent. The little short dude. Got the straight hair. Wear his hair straight.
And, he's still around right now?
Yeah. He was just with Crump. With talk about that last incident with the guy over there they drowned or whatever. It's not Farrakhan. It's not Crump. It's he's a civil rights leader. He's just short, like a roach.
Yes, sir. I think it's Al Sharpton.
Sharpton, yeah, Al Sharpton. Look at him.
Okay.
Right. Look at him. Just look at him. Come on, man. But look at how he been sliding through the cracks all the time, and that's what has happened to us since we've been here. But now that we're in the last days, and what the Lord of Hosts spoke is being exposed. But for the longest, these people were slid by us. We sit there and was glorifying them and all that, and they had nothing whatsoever to do with us. They was with the enemy. They was, you know what I'm saying? They was from the enemy. Their DNA was from the enemy. But it ain't happening no more because he's waking us up. Yeah. So with that being said, I'm gonna say shalom, everybody. We got our evening Shabbat class. Close out the Shabbat at 6. So like I said, unless it get hot, it's normally about an hour. But if we catch fire, we might be there 2 hours. So, but I'm gonna say shalom, everybody. I'll see y'all this evening for the evening Shabbat class.
Shalom.
Shalom. I highly recommend that you get this book and you read it because it's a must that you understand who the God head is in the order that's in the Old Testament and Tanakh, because it's not the same as in the New Testament. And when you read this and you get an understanding, then the scriptures open up and then you begin to understand. So I highly recommend that you get this book. It's the Elohim of Israel, and it's a breakdown on the word Elohim and who the God of Israel is and the Godhead.